Hi, this is Dave. I wanted to show you what my Meade 7-inch Maksutov looks torn apart with the guts out of it. This is actually the counterweight that came out of the inside of the thing. This was rattling around loose inside the tube, made some very loud clunking sounds. It could easily have broken the objective, the primary mirror, if I had not removed it. So it was an absolute necessity for me to remove that thing bouncing around inside there. I'll take the parts out. I wanted to show you what this looks like first. I'll take the meniscus and the main objective out here in a minute. I wanted to show you what the back end looks like. Here's the front of the telescope. I'm going to put this camera on a tripod. Okay, let's see if I can show you what this looks like. And I've already pulled out. There are 3 little push-pull bolts here. I've already pulled those out. Very easy. Just takes the right size Allen wrench. And of course here you want to be very careful not to touch the optics, of course. But it comes right out very easily. The meniscus. There it is. It's all one piece. Real simple. Now inside here, there's the primary back there. You can see that. You probably can. There's the primary back there. This tube here is covered with grease on the the mirror slides on that tube and it's covered with grease, so you want to be a little careful. And of course the last thing you want to do is get that grease all over your primary. So I'm going to kind of pull this right out. It slides nicely. There was no retaining ring on mine. I'm not sure if somebody had been in here before or what, but there was no retaining ring on mine. In addition to that, the 2 slots here, I don't know if you can see that, but the 2 slots here make it very, very easy to slide that out. That was child's play. Absolutely simple. So removing the optics from this thing was really, really easy. Now of course I've got the long tube here. I don't know what you call that, the mounting tube or perhaps a baffle. Anyway, that long tube there, which serves that dual purpose, that long tube is covered with grease. So if you're going to drill holes in here, as I'm about to do, I'm going to probably drill holes in this tube. And when I drill holes in this tube, I want to cover that with a nice plastic bag and make sure that I don't get those little metal chips into that grease. That is not a good idea. You don't want to mix those metal chips with the grease. Now what I did to reestablish where the balance is I put everything together and I balanced it horizontally on a broomstick. I found that the new balance point is right about there. So that's where the new fork arms will go. As a matter of fact, I'm probably going to mount it on a much lighter fork. The Meade fork arms, this will fit. This is an older Meade fork, so I'm going to put it on there. And I found that it's about 2.5 inches different, 2.5 inches longer. It will still clear even without this big, look at this. I don't know if you can get a sense for the weight of that thing. That's a heavy counterweight. So it'll still clear the fork arms, although looking at Polaris is going to be tricky with the scope now. Because it's only going to have a couple of inches here in the back. But it'll still work fine for me. I'm interested in planetary and lunar observing, and I'm never going to have it, maybe when it's in its park position it'll be back there, but other than that it'll never be down there. I wanted to show you how this mechanism works on the inside. And of course this is out of the tube now, but inside the tube what's happening here is the mirror is mounted like so, and you can see that on the back of the mirror it's actually mounted on a tube with some cork there to make sure it can expand and contract. And what happens there is inside the tube, this is sliding inside the optical tube assembly. Most of you have probably never seen one of these aparators, and I've seldom seen one. And what happens here is this little thing, this little screw, that's the main focuser. This goes right on there. It's real easy to put this on there. And then this is going to push and pull that. This is going to be firmly attached to the back. OTA, and this thing is going to push and pull. It could not be simpler. It also, that's the source of the, I don't know if you can see it, but there's a pretty good little bit of slop, at least in terms of optical, the optical performance of it. That's why most people, including myself, prefer to have a secondary focuser. So you kind of put this in one place, leave it alone, and then use a secondary finer focuser for making the fine focus adjustments. I wanted to show you the difference between the LX200 and the older mount. I'm not sure, it might be an LX50. Anyway, it says Meade quartz drive, doesn't have a number on it. Anyway, the older drive is much smaller, much simpler, easy to work with, much less complicated, much lighter. So I'm going to put my telescope on that mount, and of course it'll be easy enough to move it back to the LX200 if I want to later on, but I'm going to put it on this mount. The fittings, believe it or not, the space between the fork arms and the height of the fork arms, the length of the fork arms, is equivalent, or very close to equivalent. So my telescope should fit on there just fine. No problem. I'll show you some pictures after I get it mounted. I wanted to show you the final result when I got it done. Here's what we have, and you can see that it's pretty well balanced. This is about 2.5 inches further from here to here. This is the position originally, and this is the new position of that same hole. So it's changed quite a bit. You can tell it looks quite a bit different, and it's considerably lighter. This telescope is much lighter than it used to be. So it is a much more convenient package. It doesn't go all the way down. I have a visual back and an 1.25 inch focuser, or 1.25 inch diagonal here. It won't go all the way through, so I won't be looking at Polaris with this telescope, unless of course I change it to some other mode. I won't be looking at Polaris with this, at least in the equatorial mode. I hope to find that the cool-off time is much faster with this now. Okay, here's the Meade 7-inch Maksutov, all set up, ready to go in the backyard. I've got a little pier that I leave out all the time, and I can set the telescope up in a matter of moments, be ready to observe. This is how it works. As you can see, it's a very convenient, comfortable observing position. So I hope I'm going to enjoy this. I hope I'm going to really enjoy my new old Meade 7-inch Maksutov. Well, I hope you've enjoyed my little exploration of eliminating the counterweight in a 7-inch Meade Maksutov. Thank you.